Does the House of Spoilers serve up a good course, or has the meal already gone rotten? Welcome Cinema, where we focus on a film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of House of Spoilers, if you've seen it. Is it good, is it bad, or somewhere right in the middle? Let me know all that. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you haven't already to join in the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. And getting right into the synopsis. An ambitious chef opens a restaurant on a remote estate where she battles kitchen chaos, self-doubts, and a haunting presence. And getting right into the positive, there's a nature to this film that I sort of start to enjoy just with the essence of how it starts off, certain plot lines, where it leads up to, in the ending, going about different things that gets your attention, grabs onto you, and delivers on some of the horror elements that should work effectively for the nature of how the story is flowing on throughout. There's good acting. What we're getting out of Adrian especially just delivers on her performance the best out of everyone, but it captivates your attention just because of the different things, and it could remind you a little bit of a mixture of the Bear TV show, which I've only seen one episode thus far, and that is sort of settles in what we get with this. But also hocus pocus a little bit. You're dealing with witches, and so you can get an interesting exploration into some of the culture, how that settles in with this house, with this restaurant. Certain things go about along the way that can draw you into the nice attention to detail, how they capture the cinematography, colors, and all that settles in on the great effects that really creates some disturbing sequences, especially involving bugs, getting into food, other things that makes you think, make you question certain sequences about the way that really can drive you and get you hooked onto the story once it gets started. Which takes me into the mixed elements. Some people may not like this if they're against witches, or if they don't like seeing gross food or bugs within food. This deals a lot with that, like especially near the beginning. If you get squeamish and it's not the type of horror you want to dive into for the purpose of what it's getting into, it may turn you off just a little bit just by that sequence. Not a negative by the standards of what I'm getting into, or an objective negative to whether it works or doesn't work as a film, but it could turn some people off for that sort of idea. But there are certain sentiments to the film where it just doesn't feel as great for the standard of its level of predictability, where it sort of starts with something and sort of takes its own little time, which isn't always a bad thing for what the pace is set at. It manages to build up certain characters in a nice way where you're sort of getting their end goal. It's not necessarily providing all the answers to the culture, to the elements of the ideas, or how certain witchcraft works within this. The exploration is sort of very subtle, very simple for how you're getting into it, and sort of compared to other chef type horror movies, what we got in the menu before, it's not as elevated. But like I mentioned, there is some comparison to The Bear with its focus on how it's filming food, the cooking of food, the intensity, and how she is dealing with the self-doubts that she is going across. There's certain horror tropes that could just throw you off depending on what you're into, if you get tired of the same old thing over and over, or if it just isn't your drive to be watching something that's all about cooking food in the kitchen, dealing with witchcraft, that just doesn't always pay off in the end. Which takes me right into the negatives, to which there's certain ideas where I like them, but the culture is very diminished in a way that it becomes less interesting. The ideas get undercooked, underdeveloped, in the sentiment to, I'm waiting for the big payoff, or certain information things to lead about along the way, or different witches to show up, whatever they're sort of alluding to with what they start to tease, what they bring up along the way, different cookbooks, certain things you learn about the plants, the food that's getting involved with the cooking of this meal. But ultimately, doesn't necessarily feel like it leads to a great payoff. And while I did sort of like what they were doing with the ending, it still felt like there was a lot more to be had. A quicker pace that could have been a lot more investing worth the time. And my personal preference is that this either should have been a longer miniseries that had a lot more dive into the culture, certain nuances to the things, or made to be a lot more tighter of a film and still being able to explore the culture and get into the ideas of the witchcraft earlier on, diving into ideas, because some things just didn't feel clear-cut, providing the answers that I feel it was starting to offer, and certainly not necessarily having the full payoff that it probably should have been or was trying to get to in the essence of what it was communicating with its story. So that's just my personal review for The House of Spoils, the last Blumhouse horror film of the year. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Or is it somewhere right in the middle? Or if this review is helping you decide if you're going to see it or not, make sure to like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already to join in film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. So that's just all, and make sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.